We are so happy that everybody is here today. Welcome to Wheel Life Connections conversation number 5. We're so happy that you're here watching us and listening to these stories. Wheel Life Connections is on a mission to bridge the gap between those inside and outside the disability community and bring us all together because we all know we're better together. So with us today on our 5th episode is Kenneth Keitt. Kenneth and I connected through Instagram. I was inspired by all of his motivation to adapt and build exercise plans for those with limited mobility and those in wheelchairs. He's a former member of the military, and he is here today to share his story with you, and I'm so excited for you to hear all the things he does in his community. So Kenneth, thanks for joining us today.
Yes. How are you guys doing? Wheel Life Connections, subscribers, viewers, listeners. It's a pleasure to be here today.
That's awesome. We're really excited to have you. So I said a little snippet about what you do for the community, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with a quick background about myself. So, I wasn't always paralyzed. I acquired my disability back in 2011. I was a United States Marine for 4 years. I went to combat, went to Iraq for 7 months. I was a machine gunner. So, I thought it was all hardcore and pretty tough. I ended up coming home after getting blown up in Iraq. I came home to visit my mom, where I came home actually in one piece, and I ended up falling asleep at the wheel because I was on medication and I got paralyzed in the car accident. So then I ended up breaking T6, 7, 8, and 9 in my back, and I got a spinal fusion. So now I'm a T7 complete. And now I'm living life from a wheelchair. So, life is good now. I had maybe a couple weeks of phase where I was more or less depressed and in denial because, I was used to being like a Marine. I was always been in sports. And to me, a permanent injury wasn't really something that I was susceptible to listening to. Like the doctors didn't even want to tell me about my condition until, until they actually didn't even really tell me. It was in rehab, outpatient rehab, where I realized that this was something that I was going to have to live with the rest of my life. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so how now have you kind of adapted to your new way to get around? So your new wheels.
My new wheels. My new wheels are great. and I'm so glad to be in a place now where I can say that because I didn't always really feel like that. And I want to be fully transparent about my transition. I've been in a wheelchair now for 6 years. 3 of the years were amazing. The first 3, I was miserable. I didn't love myself. I didn't love my wheelchair. I was embarrassed. I was walking. I was a Marine. I went from carrying a machine gun to, using a catheter and having something like this with the pens. So it was just like, the major shift and the psychological shift was just so fast for me. And it happened at 21 years old. I was still a young man. And I actually had a son on the way too as well. So my son, he's now 7. So, he was right there when I was first paralyzed, and I think that's what helped me get to where I need to be. But I guess after 3 years, I was kind of like sick and tired of being embarrassed. But then one morning I woke up and I realized like the wheelchair was the only thing that was allowing me to be independent. So, because one day I was laying down in the bed and I couldn't reach my wheelchair. It was like so far away. And I'm like, here I am complaining for 3 years straight. I'm complaining and I'm embarrassed about this tool that allows me to be a father, that allows me to go to, because I went to Penn State, so I was a full-time student at Penn State. It allowed me to go to class on time. It allowed me to do the things that I needed to do in life. So that was like a mental shift in my brain where I realized that this thing that I'm embarrassed about because it's different to me is actually something that's a positive thing in my life. Because if it didn't exist, then I wouldn't be able to do the things that I did. So after that, it was like a 5-day period where I just learned to embrace myself and actually be okay with being a wheelchair user and make my own definition of what that was. Because, society shows you that wheelchair and disability looks like this. And we all know that this is what it really looks like. And it's up to us to define that. So, yes.
That's awesome. And that's super powerful. I think, so from my standpoint, I don't really know any different because I've been in a wheelchair my whole life. So it's really, really awesome to just hear kind of your transition. Because from what I know, I would assume that it's hard to go from being able to walk and run and do all these things to then having to sit and wheel around. And I know for me, there's so many things that I'm like, man, I can't do that. I have to get my wheelchair to go through that. And I don't think that's going to work for me. But, we start coming up with creative ways to do things, and you start realizing like, okay, well, I can't do it the way you do it because you can stand and walk, but I can still do it. It just depends on, the direction and how I, look at the situation. So I think it's really a neat perspective because I don't have that perspective. So I'm really glad that you opened up and shared that. So thank you for that. And I think another thing you brought up was how you had kind of that there's that definition of what people think it's like being in a wheelchair, and then
Right.
it shifts once you get in, and have to be in that situation. And that's definitely one of the key factors that I think becomes that turning point between whether people in and out of the disability can connect or they feel uncomfortable not to connect. Uh, so I definitely think that's a really good point that you brought up as
I
well.
actually grew up too. One of my close friends, his brother was, he was a paraplegic. So we always used to do wheelies in his chair and take it down the hill. And like, to me, it was just something fun. Like even my son, recently I went to his school to read Dr. Seuss books. My son's 7 years old. And the children were just so amazed at the wheelchair, so excited. Well, how does it turn? How does it do this? How does it go up steps? Can it float? And they're like, my dad's not in the wheelchair. And I was like, they're like, my dad's not in a wheelchair. I'm like, you don't want your dad to be. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's okay that your dad doesn't have a wheelchair. So it's just one of those things where it's just funny, and you see different perspectives. And now that I'm in a wheelchair, and it's totally different to me. Not that I was, I wasn't interested in finding about it. It was just one of the things that you just, it's not something that you really. I think the only time that you really pay attention to it is if it's like a spouse or one of your children. Then that's when you really get invested to the lifestyle of disability and everything that goes along with it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I think kids are my favorite. I love kids because they're so open and honest, and they're like, what's that button do? Can I push the horn? And I'm like, no, you can't push the horn. Like what? But they just said they're so like curious, and it's fun to answer their questions because hopefully then, in the future, their perception will be totally different. So it's nice.
I like a welcoming spirit, so I'm pretty sure they come to you because kids can feel energy. So I mean, you're like, hey, come talk to me. Some people like talk to me at all.
And, yeah, that's good though. It is really important to be open with them though as well, or then they do get a little nervous and a little more scared if you're a little standoffish. So, what else? Tell us a little bit about kind of what you do day to day.
All right, so my day-to-day now, so I actually own a company called ParaPer4mance, PARAPER, the number 4MANCE. We have a website, it's .com. We have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channel. They're all up and coming now. We're actually working very hard at blowing them up because we have a lot of great things happening. It took me a long time to really work this business model out and make it effective because, no one really wants to take on the challenge of providing resources for our demographic, even though our demographic is huge. And it's just like so many people just overlook us. So this was something that I made it my business to make sure that I had something that was going to be of value to it. So it took me like the last 2.5 years to actually develop a company that would actually, do well in the world, but also be able to provide service and be affordable and be something that people wanted to use because I'm a wheelchair user myself. So I know, the community, I know the language. I'm allowed I'm walking, living and breathing in this. So this was something actually special to me and this passion. So first we started off creating fitness programs on a small level, just 1-to-1s, 2-to-2s, Cash App and doing things like that. And then I realized there was a bigger need for it. So that's when I really started to invest in a website and personal trainers, adaptive personal trainers, and further educating myself. So then we created various programs. So like a self-defense program for wheelchair users, how to defend yourself from a chair or someone's trying to take you out of the car, female fitness wheelchair workout programs, males, meditation and rejuvenation. To me, that's one of the biggest components of my recovery is mental and psychology because I had to really focus in on loving myself and figuring out what I want to do because right now I'm really purpose driven, but I had to like separate myself from the world. Like I was doing a lot because I'm an adaptive athlete now. So I mono ski, I water ski, I do everything, but I had to really step back from everything and realize because I was going to school to be an accountant and I didn't want to be an accounting in a wheelchair. It was so boring. I don't want to sit behind a desk. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm already sitting down all day. So So I'm like, I want to actually do something that's meaningful and it makes me feel alive. So this is what I do on a day to day. We sold our products globally. We have sales in Denmark, the UK, and Germany, here in the United States. And that led me to build an app now. So we have an app that's set to be launched in 2021. It's called ParaPer4mance Go. And that is my solution to everything that we're doing on the website. We're taking everything we're doing on the website and doing it 10 times better. We're providing tons of resources, whether it be caregiver support, prevention, physical therapy, occupational therapy, resources, finding resources in your area. So anything that you could think of or that you would want, we're trying to make sure that every update that we do, that we're talking to the community, we're figuring out what you want, because I feel like this is my company, but it's our company. And like, this is something that we don't have. And like, we don't really have something that we have input in and that it could really be effective, because I feel like I'm that barrier. Like, I'm in the community, but I also am outside, because I can like use my platform to be able to advocate for like the masses. So to me, it's good to be able to do that. So like, someone can tell me, you know, like I was considering calling friends wheelies. And I was like, is that something that, you know, because like I wanted to feel like it's that. And I asked the community, like, is that offensive? Everyone's like, no, that's fine. But it's like, you know, you want to be professional, but then you want to also make it feel like this is something that is in our language. So it's just, that's an example of what I do. So yeah, that's what I said. So our biggest accomplishment now is the app that we're launching called ParaPer4mance Go. It'll be a free app. There'll be a subscription version. Very affordable, but it'll be tons of resources. And you guys listening, I'm pretty sure you'll hear about it again. I'll be back to talk more about it. But you know, if you're interested, you can check us out on ParaPer4mance or on our social media. But stay tuned.
Yeah, so we'll make sure we share. I'll link your YouTube channel to this video, so that way everybody can see and follow and subscribe to your YouTube, and then we'll share social medias as well, so everybody can kind of stay in touch. So that'll work. And then I guess I have to keep Wheellifeconnections going for a year, because we'll have to do another video when your app launches, right?
Wheellifeconnections to the app too. I mean, you can definitely provide the value there. And that's one of the things is I realized that when I was day one injured, I would have never saw myself here. And it's like, you never know where your story, who is reaching. Like my voice and my story reaches a different demographic or person in your story. You connect with different people differently. That's why I try to tell people, like, I'm not in a place to compete. I just feel like partnership is best, because you never know who you might take to impact. And I feel like in our community, we can do a lot. We can do a lot together. Like we can get farther together than everyone trying to take this part and take that part. And it's like, to me, that's not the way. I tried it before and it didn't work for me. So yeah.
That's awesome. So you mentioned something about being an athlete and playing sports. And so I've water skied and zip lined. What other sports do you like to do? Or
I mean, the most I like to mono ski on the snow. Okay. So that's my favorite adaptive thing to do. I do like the Olympic lifting. So I go with the Warrior Games with the military. So I compete there. I do like the powerlifting, the javelin, the rowing. But my favorite is the mono ski on the snow. So it gives me the freedom that I need. I don't really love the water skiing because I'm not that good. So I like to stay where I like to stay where I'm pretty good. And yeah, the snow, I'm pretty good on the snow. So not to brag a little bit, but I've stopped falling after year one. So this is my third year doing it. And I'm getting pretty good. So yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. I would love to snow ski. I haven't had the opportunity to go yet, but I'll have to go at some point.
Like I said, the app that we're going to put, we have something called the Sports Adaptive Foundation here in Pennsylvania and Camelback Mountain. When you come here, everything's still free. You can come out of state. So if you ever decided to come in and like have like a ranch, because I live in the Poconos, it's like country woods out here. But
I'm from Pennsylvania, so I actually know where you are.
Okay, you know where I'm at. So yeah, if you ever decide to come here, I mean, any state can come here, and the equipment's free. The lift ticket's $40, but you can come here and you can get cheap lessons, and they're very good. They're very, very good, and the way that they train you and escalate your progress is amazing. Like day one, you'll probably be skiing by yourself independently, not on the big hills, but on the funny stuff.
Yeah, I'll take a little one.
And for you, they have the two skis, the bi-skis. Okay. But it's actually so much fun to like get out there and just be on the snow and feel like, you know, like you said, hair blown in the wind.
Yeah, right? The freedom. It's just cool. That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some challenges and frustrations. So transitioning into being a full-time wheelchair user, what's one thing or a story you can think of where it became really frustrating, or it was just that one task that you were like, gosh, I wish I could just do this, and it took a little bit of time before you got to the point where you could accomplish it on your own?
Man, I had a lot. I mean, the first was because when I got paralyzed, I went right back into my life. I wanted to restart life as soon as possible. 'Cause I've always been like motivated. And my answer to not dealing with my depression and all that was staying busy. So, but in that, I don't think that was the best option because I didn't know my body. So I didn't really know my body, and I didn't know the new things that I had to do as far as medicine, things that I had to do. So the most embarrassing, but it was my life. And that was one of the things that I said made me mature in my disability and learn to love myself, was that, I didn't know about like the pens or anything like that. And, I'm 21 years old, so I didn't really know about, cathing and all this other stuff. So I cathed when I left the house, but I went to school for like 8 hours. But for some reason, I didn't really bring anything else. So the normal person would use the bathroom again. But me not really understanding where I was, and obviously I went to rehab, but I wasn't really thinking. I'm sitting in class and I'm wearing like joggers, I think, like light joggers. And next thing you know, I just look down and I'm all wet. And I was in a class, and I was in a 4-hour class, so I sat there for 4 hours wet, listening to my professor talk about economics and business, and I'm just sitting here wet. So I had to sit there wet, and I ended up going home early, and I had to go handle myself. So as far as that was probably like the most embarrassing, but it wasn't. It was also made me realize that this is my life, and I need to learn how to efficiently do this so that I don't make myself upset. I need to be responsible so I can avoid things like this. As far as frustrations, my one thing that frustrates me, and I'm not even gonna lie, still frustrates me to this day, is I have a son. And I'm very active with him, but like we play soccer, like he like jukes me up. I'm like falling out my chair. I wish I could do like more stuff with my son. He's very active. The beach, I know they have like adaptive chairs, but like in San Diego, I was just so used to going to the beach and like laying out and walking on the beach. The beach is very, very hard in the wheelchair. I've tried it multiple times. I don't love it. Now I actually don't like the beach. So I know there's like solutions to that, and I'm finding them, but it's just like the wheelchairs that they have are like bigger, and I drive a Toyota Corolla. So I mean, my chair goes in a Toyota Corolla. I don't know if you know what that is. Do you know what kind of car it is? It's teeny.
Very
so
tight.
yeah. Well, wait, my computer is low. I think I can make it though. So, but yeah, I just have to get like the right products. But right now I'm focusing on business. So as far as frustrations, I've had them, but right now I could pretty much say that my life right now is like 90% good. I have like 10% bad, 90% good.
That's okay. Everybody always lives with some frustrations, no matter what the circumstances are. So that's totally fine. I will tell you, I also don't like the beach. I don't like the beach because they don't have power chairs on the beach. So once you're on the beach, somebody has to push me around or I'm stuck. So I really don't like the beach either. But
yeah, got it.
Yep, I'm not a fan of people pushing a wheelchair. I don't like the way they drive. I like the way I drive better. I don't know if you feel the same way, but sometimes they drive too fast or too slow.
Don't touch me, let me do my thing, right?
Exactly. So the beach, it's good from a distance, but I'm not a big fan either. So.
Yep. Unless they have like the paved walkway where you can like go out and lay there, but it has to be perfect. Other than that, I'll stick to the pool.
There you go. That's good. That works for me as well. Very cool. So you talk a lot about mindset, and you kind of went through that transition of figuring out how to love yourself again and things like that. Were there any tools or any person or any kind of I guess motto or quote or anything that you kind of looked up to help you get through that part, that kind of kept you focused on those specific things to get you to where you are today?
Most definitely. I mean, it took me like searching for information. So I would say more or less it was YouTube, and that's why one of my biggest things I think I want to provide in the app is mindfulness things, because like I'm big on meditation. So I meditate. I mean, I pray. I believe in God. And you know, I changed my behavior. So I started to do like things that, you know, would get me to where I wanted to be. Like exercise was important, nutrition was important to me. You know, for skin breakdown, like there's so many reasons. You know, your pain management, bowel management. I started to just change little areas in my life. But definitely like positive talks and like affirmations and things like that were huge to me. And I think people really take that for granted. They forget how much like law of attraction and how you speak and feel and the energy, what you put out to the universe, how it comes back to you and how it like manifests into everything that's going on. So that's why I said, like, for the first 3 years, I was doing it all wrong. I messed up a bunch. I was selfish. I thought I could do it by myself. I was negative and positive at the same time. I was negative and positive. So I was like, yay, nay, yay, nay. Like, I was like confusing myself. But then after when I woke myself up, I realized like putting all these small things together, it like catapulted my life like completely. And like once I begin to love myself, people now see me and I look like I love myself. I'm not like faking it anymore. It's like they're looking at me and I'm like glowing from the inside. So that was one of the things that actually helped me get to where I am today.
I think another thing that I've just noticed from talking to you, I think it's because what you're doing on a daily basis is something you're so passionate about that helps a lot, you know, and you can see it shines straight through. You're so ready for all these things to happen, and that just makes it so much more exciting. So I like that, and self-affirmations I think are very important as well. So when I go out in public speak, I typically speak on 3 foundational pillars that basically will help you stay positive in life. And one of them is to become fearless, and the second one is to stay motivated, and the third one is to always push for more. And so one of the things I always talk about is self-affirmations. They're important because the way you link your brainwaves together and start thinking more positively on a daily basis, the negative things don't become such a major part of your life. They become something small that you're like, oh yeah, that was kind of a crappy thought. Okay, oh well, let's move on. Let's go on to something more positive. You know, so it just becomes a little more easy to kind of switch from negatives to positive. So
I see we have some synergy. We got to do some collaborations in that part. See, like my thing is just finding like professionals in the space where we could collaborate, because I want to show like the different faces and the different talents, because I know there's so many talented and people out there. And like my thing is I want to be able to highlight them and, you know, I obviously be able to do whatever. But it's like, you know, I know there's people out there that are doing great things, and I know that I'm good at what I do, but there's also people great at what they do. So it's my job to find those people and say, hey, would you like this opportunity where we can both benefit? And, you know, that's it.
There you go. That's how it works. Well, it starts with one message. I sent you one message and you responded, and here we are today. So that's exactly how it works. And so let's wrap up here a little bit. So I think you hinted that your computer was dying, so I don't want it to die.
I have 10 minutes. So
okay, great. So we'll wrap up so we don't keep you on. But is there anything, so now that access looks a little bit different and kind of getting around the community is a little different than it was before for you, is there anything currently in your community today or just kind of around you that you've experienced that you think would benefit from a change that would make it better?
Gravel parking lots. I hate gravel parking lots. Broken sidewalks. It's like small complaints. Big complaints, I don't really have many big complaints in the community. As far as that, I mean, where I live, there aren't many wheelchair users. There's some. I mean, I live in like the suburb areas.
Right.
But that's not really an issue to me. I mean, online presence and the online community is pretty strong. And I actually travel a lot, and I meet with a lot of people in wheelchairs. So community is not a problem here. So no, I don't really have anything like that. I mean, as far as I live by myself, so I'm fully independent. I shower, I do all that by myself. So I've learned to be independent, and it feels great. And I think that's, like I said, mindfulness, you know, physical strength has helped, and I think that's all important for anyone. So like, I don't like for people to like feel sorry for themselves and to do that without trying certain things in life. Like, you know, they like people want to say about dating and this and that, and there's like, you know, you have to dress nice, you have to smell good. Like, there's still certain ways you need to carry yourself. And I think exercise is important if you want to stay independent, because, you know, like if you don't use it, you lose it. Just like when you get older, you know, and you don't have a disability, you can't do certain things. So it's like the same thing that you would do if you didn't, then you can, because I don't think people really like, they do look at you differently when you have a disability and stuff like that, but the degree into which they do is up to you. So if you carry yourself a certain way, then I feel like you could kind of meet them in the middle, because they just don't know. I feel like it's an educational thing. They just don't know what you can and can't do, and things like that. Like somebody would look at you and think you need all the help in the world, and you're like, hey, get away from me. I don't need any help. Like, what's wrong with you? I'll help you. So it's like, it's an educational thing, and I think the better you present yourself and the better you look, the better then people will get comfortable to, giving you that independence and respect that you deserve and require. So, yeah.
Awesome. So last thing, let's wrap up here. So now that we're kind of talking about both communities and trying to bring them together, is there any pieces of advice or tips you'd give to somebody outside the disability community who isn't sure, not really comfortable, but may have a little hint of really wanting to be, together with the disability community, but not really sure how to go about it?
I think, I don't know. I think that's something we should do more. I don't think that's really a them issue.
Okay.
Even though they can, I mean, there's definitely places you can go, like Abilities Expos. You can do research online. There's people that you can follow that are advocates, like myself and yours, just to learn things. Like, that's on a small level, but I'm even thinking like there's things that we can do. We could have events and do things like that where we educate, and even on the children level. Like, bring your children out to ask questions or do this and do that, and do it in a creative way. So, I mean, I don't think that's a their problem. I think that's not a problem, but I think that's something that we should take on the responsibility of doing, because we're the ones that's like misunderstood. So it's like, they misunderstood us. So I think that's our job to say, hey, this is what we can do. You know what I mean? So it's like, because then I don't feel like most people would take the initiative to find out unless we initiate it. So like, and I'm all about action and solutions. So I think that's honestly the solution. Unless you have like a bunch of friends and a bunch of family who are living it and they love you. But to the most part, I mean, like everyone that I've encountered, once I opened the door, the opportunity, they've been receptive to anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to connect.
Yes.
And it was great hearing your story. And I know our community will enjoy hearing your story as well. I think the more stories the community hears about individuals who live life fully with a disability is just going to bridge that gap. It's literally going to happen automatically. So I love your insight on what life looks like for you. We're super excited about your new program. So we'll definitely connect again, and we'll do a recap video for when things go out. And I'll make sure we share all of your links for ParaPer4mance and your YouTube channel so that they can follow
you. If you have time, you could like look through the IGTV. We would love to cover you and your story as well. Okay. You have an amazing story, and you have like your energy is great too. So I mean, vice versa. Like, so after this, we can surely connect and figure out how we can keep the conversations going. So thank you for having me. Had a great time, and you had some amazing questions. Everyone, take care, be safe, and I'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, Kenneth.